Hola, Espanol, Spagabol, Cerveza. That is the reason why I was pointing and saying, I'm reminded of the Ricky Gervais gag about Brits abroad, about what you do if you want to communicate effectively with your European cousins. You speak louder, you shout, and you point, and you expect them to understand. And if they don't, you smash the place up, confident you tried your best. Yeah, okay, my language skills when it comes to Spanish, not great. Not great. But to be fair, I coped. I did all right. And they were very accommodating in España. It was all well and good. And we're going to talk about my experience in today's show. As always, if you're joining us now, number one, you still got notifications on for my channel, which is great, and I really appreciate that. Thank you. As always, it makes life a lot easier and spreads the word a lot better if you head to my channel or head down below and turn on notifications, and of course hit like. Do all that thing to kind of spread the word. Put a comment down below. Put a comment in the Q&A. Let us know you're watching, where you're watching from. Are you watching from Spania? In which case, you may not understand a word I'm talking about. But I'm certain, as I go on and describe things, it may make a little bit more sense. Because there were frustrations. And we're going to talk about those. The good, the bad, and the ugly, as I say in the title, for Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con Malaga. Important distinction that. I've got to keep saying it. I'll explain why in a second. Let's roll the thing. Hello there, everybody, and welcome along to Talking Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. My name's Leonard Sultana, and when we run these shows, we get the chance to talk about comics, Comic-Cons, and all the stuff and nonsense we get to enjoy at such shows. Well, I know I haven't done one of these for a while, which means I may not get too much of an audience today because people are wondering if I'm still on the planet. But if you are a subscriber, thank you very much indeed for joining us today. As always, if you have any comments, questions, jump in and let us know if there's anything you want to talk about, any questions that you want to talk about. I've done a couple of these, one on the Saturday of San Diego Comic-Con Malaga, and one last night, kind of like, well, yesterday afternoon From the Floor, or in Hall S. And I will talk about that in a minute, see if I can pull up a map of the layout of the convention center. Basically, I will break down what I experienced, and then what you could have experienced if you were an attendee, and why there are such things as petitions being run at the moment, some serious complaints going on online. I will say a lot of the good and a lot of the bad are justified. We'll talk about that as we go. As always, any questions, do let us know. The ticker tape's right there, and it'll kind of give you a heads up of, just jump in with any comments that you may have. If God forbid someone from San Diego Comic-Con is watching this. Say, for example, someone from the press room, and I know that David Glanzer was in attendance at San Diego Comic-Con Malaga. If you want to jump in, if you want to sort of message or put a comment in, I'll send you a message and you can join in any conversation. I know that I was going to be joined with this by Mark Serby, but unfortunately he got tied up with something else. So it's just going to be me. I wanted to have someone actually ask me questions. So I had a little bit more of a free form, instead of just a free form, an actual dedicated idea of what to talk about. But let's start at the beginning. San Diego Comic-Con Malaga announced in October last year, 2024. And it came out of nowhere. It was announced in the local press of Malaga by a local newspaper, to the point where people actually wondered if it was for real. It was incredibly low key. It was the kind of announcement that you would expect in the likes of Deadline or Hollywood Reporter or a mainstream pop culture reportage site. It came out on a local Andalusian Malaga newspaper. And like I say, people just thought, is this for real? At which point it became announced that it was. Shortly after that, we had some very large profile press conferences that were being hosted by the local authority, by the city council, by the company that was being set up to create this event, and by the Andalusian tourist authority, and a consortium of banks that was putting up a sizable amount of quantity of money. The general idea of the estimate of how much this event has cost to put on is in the plus 10 million pound, 10 million euro ballpark. And that money apparently has come from $3 to $4 million has come from the local council or Andalusia. There's been a large chunk of money that's been put together by a consortium of banks to kind of raise finance for this. And the one thing I will say about San Diego Comic-Con Malaga is the production value, as referenced in the picture you can see on screen, is absolutely huge. It looks and looked absolutely astonishing. These amazing banners, these flags that have been put together. This is a 3-year contract that has been put together for this particular event. It will be running for 3 years in Malaga. I can only assume that means 3 years in this building. Let me just skip forward a couple of frames, because I know I've got a video in there for some reason. It's organized, the video's a little bit weird in this folder, but that's the building. When I first found out about where the actual location is, I went to Google Maps and I did a bit of a search. And my first thought was, that looks small. That looks tiny. And when you see how the space is actually organized, you've got this outer concourse outside of the building itself. This is it's called a Congress. It's the actual title of the building is the Trade Fair and Congress Center of Malaga, the FYMCA. At which point you enter this building and you've got an inner concourse, which I think I've got. I may have some. Let's see if I've got some video of that. I'm sure I've got something a little bit closer to home of that particular thing. So yeah, there's a press entrance, and I've got my press pass. RFID on a little bit of a tag. Exhibitor hall. Yeah, let's go through this. I'm just trying to find a video, if I can, of the outer atrium, because it was absolutely packed. Let's have a look here. Let's see what this one is. Oh man. I don't know if that's going to play. I can only hope. Okay. I'm going to have to bounce backwards and forwards between video files because it was a case of I thought I'd put them in date order, but there we go. So you have an outer atrium, an outer concourse into a large atrium, which is in the middle of the building. Open air, and it's called, or was called on the map, Hall S. So it was actually given a dedicated name. But as it happens, I don't know if it was intended to be kind of like an open air space where people could congregate, could sit, stay out of the shade a little bit, meet up with people. There was this amazing DJ setup in the middle where it was playing pretty much from doors open to doors closed. Nerd, geek, TV themes, a bit of dance music as well. Just stuff to keep people entertained. As it happened, it ended up being the soundtrack for what that room ended up being, a massive queue room. In other words, you queued outside of that huge structure that had been put up outside of the convention center. I'm going to call it a convention center. You then pass through that, through the gates to have your wristband RFID'd into the locale of the convention center to then queue up around the outside of the building. And it was a long snaking line to get into there. One door. In through the door, you have the inner concourse. You have a bit of a snake of a queue there. Or you could jump in the line also for the exhibition, the conference rooms, the panel talk rooms, of which there were 2, 3 on your right-hand side as you go in. That got busy. You managed to get through the door, one door, to get into Hall S, this massive space, which then turned into a huge snake affair. To get through that, welcome to Exhibitor Hall. It's a sense of drama. It looks amazing. This great LED sort of setup. That is one sliding door. It's a double sliding door. And it is the only entrance into the exhibitor hall for the 50,000, 40,000 people trying to get in. Through the eye of a needle, kids, that is it. One door in, 2 doors to leave. It was like trying to squeeze a Volvo down a rabbit hole. It was insane to see. I do have a couple of pictures, I believe, of the kind of I really am not entirely sure how to describe it. I really don't. Have I got anything on here? Let's see. I think I took them all on my. I must have taken them all on my because the picture I'm looking at, the folder here, is from my phone. Here we go. Let's have a look through these. Right. Bear with me a second because I want to bring this up. We'll present this one, stop screen, and bring up this particular screen. Sorry about this. Bear with me. But I do want you to see what I saw. So this is Hall S, and this, I believe, was on the Sunday. It was empty at this point. Let me have a look. Press play. Yes, this would be, no, this is Saturday. This is the beginning of Saturday. In other words, no one had gotten through the door yet. I managed to get in early to see what the building was like. Empty. This is Hall S, this outer atrium. Oh, this outer atrium for the building, and that will be absolutely full. I tell you now, actually, that is going to be the Saturday, and I know that because there's no barriers up. It was only by Sunday they managed to work out that perhaps putting barriers up to organize the lines, which admittedly the Spaniards know how to queue. They created them themselves. Oh, okay. Let's skip forward. Let's see what else we've got. Yeah, yes, just nice little demonstration of some of the moving graphics. Like I say, the level of detail when it comes to the actual presentation was immense. It looked amazing. The entrance into Hall M looked amazing. So there's all of this space, but the actual location. So this is first thing on Saturday morning. Martin Simmons in the Artist Alley. Now, the Artist Alley, we're looking at what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe spaces for. Oh, that's my interview with Martin Simmons. I'll be posting that at some point. Artist Alley, back of the room. We're talking 7 per aisle, 2 full aisles, and 2 half aisles. Some cosplayers in there as well. Not that many. About 40 to 50 artists total. So this was first thing on Saturday, and it had not even gotten as full as it possibly could. And it was full. That's a little bit more representative of just how shoulder to shoulder it was, because it was one of the smallest rooms to run a convention center in. This is a local artist in Spain that does adaptations of video games. She performed twice, which I saw while in the hall, and she drew a crowd every single time. She was clearly a big hit with the Spaniards. Bowser there. One of the things to see as you walked through the exhibition, that head actually moved. It was animated. So that's rather cool. I mean, there was stuff to see, and it was cool. This is actually one of the quietest things I've seen of it. That must have been first thing on Saturday morning, because it got incredibly busy. That's a bit of a messed up file. I'd have to look at that. What is that? That is one of the convention panel rooms where it was. I decided to just jump in and take some video and then dive out. I just wanted to have a look at the room. I'm spitballing here. This is where I really needed Mark Serby to kind of keep me on track. Yes, CB Sobolski and a bunch of incredibly talented artists as Marvel All-Stars. Yeah, let's talk about that. Translation available. There in the bottom right-hand corner, you have yourself a QR code, at which point you could load up either on your headphones or just holding your phone to your ear, and it did a live translation of the language on stage. So, for example, if you asked for English, anytime that someone spoke in Spanish on stage, it would then play the English into your ear. If then someone was speaking English, it stayed quiet. So it gave you a kind of a live translation. And I believe that feed was also going directly into the earpieces of the people on stage. So they were getting a live translation as well. So there was this, it was a pretty rapid ability for multilingual understanding of people on stage, which I thought was incredibly clever, rather handy to have. And I thought that was a really nifty way of solving the problem that was to hand. But yeah, people filing in. I think they wanted to try and get people and get the whole thing started as soon as they possibly could. But no, some people still filing in. Let's have a look at what's going on here. I don't know what's going on with some of the file there. Hope that translates better when I upload the file. Again, any questions, do let me know, and I'll do what I can to answer them. I'll try and not jump around as much. I'm going to guess what you're trying to say there, Andrew, because you do type really, really quickly. So 75K as SDC, ZC through 29 doors. What on earth did you... Yeah. How did it get past the fire brigade? I don't think they have that kind of authority. That I didn't see anyone representing of the fire brigade. And to be honest, I didn't see that many people representing of the building. They kind of like were left to their own devices. This has, at the end of the day, been put together and organized by the council, by Malaga Council, which means, or the Andalusia Council, which means they have a lot of legal leeway to undertake this particular event. But they just squeezed as many people through the door as they possibly could. It was quite insane to see. Tell you what, I'm going to just drop that down to there, so at least I can kind of scroll through my video and see what I can find, certainly in the way of crowds. Let's bring this one into here, see if I can put that into that. Bring up a picture. Here we go. So that is Hall S, this immense room full of people trying to squeeze through a solitary door. And this was the Saturday. I think it's difficult to convey how frustrating it would have been for a attendee. I went as press, which gave me a lot of access. I don't know if that was because at the end of the day, this is a new organization that didn't really know how to handle press. And they just kind of let us have a lot of VIP kind of treatment in that we skipped the lines, we skipped the queues, we kind of snuck through side doors and just walked into halls and stuff, purely because I had one of these. If I was an attendee, which I had queued so many hours outside, to then queue an hour or so in the outer atrium, or outer concourse, to then queue inside the inner concourse, to then queue another hour and a half, 2 hours to get in through the single door that got you into the exhibition floor. Damn right, I would have been absolutely furious to have wasted 5-6 hours queuing up to get into a building which you then can't see a massive amount because it's just so goddamn full. Fandom Ventures, I find it funny that so many first-time cons don't anticipate the crowds and set up queues even with some tape on the floor. Yeah, but here's the thing, and Caroline has told me to keep this in mind. This is a first year. It's the first con. It's their first one. Yes, it is. But the whole idea of this was, this is San Diego Comic-Con that is coming over to Malaga. Robin Dolan was in the room. I don't know if she was there all weekend, but she was certainly there on the Friday. David Lanza was there all weekend. San Diego Comic-Con has had the form since 1972, or was it 1970, of running a massive event in a massive way, in an epic way, knowing that people will come out of the woodwork if you invite the world to a pop culture phenomenon like San Diego Comic-Con. Someone should have listened to them. Someone should have said, this is what you got to prepare yourself for. This is what's on the cards. You've got to know what's coming. I spoke to a couple in Hall M their equivalent of Hall H, we'll get to that in a minute, which said that they had driven 9 hours to get to San Diego Comic-Con Malaga, purely because Spain does not have an event like this at all. There is other events. There's there's Comic-Con Barcelona, but nothing in the model of San Diego Comic-Con of an exhibition floor, couple of auditoriums for panels, and a big auditorium for the Hall H experience, the multiple thousands. There's nothing like that in Spain. This was new to them. And that's why they came out of the woodwork. When they first put the tickets up on sale in February, March, 60,000 tickets, and they sold, admittedly, after 4 or 5 hours, purely because the first time they hit them live, the site crashed. That sounds familiar? Doesn't that take you back to the good old days of when San Diego Comic-Con put their site up live and everything went kablooey? The demand was there. At which point, once they'd sold those tickets and said that the event had sold out, they then went and did it again and did sold more tickets. That's an inkling of a money-grabbing exercise. But at the end of the day, it's got CCI's brand on it. It's got CCI's experience. And that's where you would have hoped someone would have been paying attention to present something with their name on it with some quality. Let's see what this video is. So, snaking around to get in to that one door. How crazy is that? Now, I think then you have people mentioning or talking about what is one of the things, or what are the things that make San Diego Comic-Con Hall H is certainly one of those things. It's an iconic room, 6,500, and it has hosted some of the biggest names in pop culture. What would be the Spanish equivalent of that? Well, what it would be is a huge 3,500 capacity room with some of the best production value I've seen to date. It just looked phenomenal. More lenticular in size. Let's bring you this image up here. So 6,500, these 3 huge screens, a massive stage area, which was absolutely rammed to the gills. Slightly bigger blocks than you would see at, say, Hall H. Let's see if I can... I want to try and make that a little bit bigger for you so you could see it. There we go. Great lighting, great stage work. That stage is about 5 foot high, so everyone in the room can see what's going on, and it just presents really nicely. Fantastic. And indeed, let's bring up some video. Here we go. $3,500 with some brilliant motion graphics. It looks amazing, and it was a nice big room, and it did the job. Fantastic. Have we got an entrance for it? Yes, we did. Everyone lining up and getting in through. this Hall M entrance with this motion graphics on both sides with a real sense of drama. Fantastic. So that's 3,500 people getting through, again, that one door. Yeah, let's talk about Hall M then. Bringing in the New York Comic-Con model of not having panels throughout the day. You had 4 panels. One at 11 o'clock. Remember, doors open at 10 for the whole convention. So 11 o'clock for the actual panel. 11, 2. No, this is a Saturday. So the first panel, they showed the entirety of Predator, Killer of Killers. And then they had the Dan Trachtenberg and Ellie Fanning panel for Predator Badlands. 2 o'clock, 2:30 for Star Wars Visions. 3 for a K-pop thing, I think. And then you had another panel at 4 o'clock. They emptied the room after every panel. So you have 3,500 in, 3,500 out. Now, admittedly, we've all seen at San Diego Comic-Con what 6,500 people looks like. It folds around the entire of the bayfront. 3,500, not actually that many when you kind of line them all up. And to be fair, the room got absolutely full for the likes of the cosplay competition, Arnold Schwarzenegger, obviously, on Sunday morning. Star Wars Vision got itself a nice big audience, but I was trying to figure out in my head if anyone who walked out of a panel could then just join in the back of the queue and go in that way. But I think they were actually putting 2 lines up, one for the next panel and then one for the panel after that. So then it kind of rotated. You had to pick your moment because, again, you're having to do all that lining up. If anything, the people attending Hall M had the better and bester experience because they lined up outside that massive arch. Got there's a separate line for Hall M. They went to Hall M. Everyone lined up for that. They waited for an hour or so and then got escorted into the building. Less time wasting. If anything, somebody who wanted to attend Hall M possibly had the better experience getting into the exhibition floor. Whole of the ball game. Whole of the ball game. So let's see if I can bring up another one. Here we go. What's this? Yes, a view from the stage. And just prior to the cosplay competition, and as you can see, an absolutely packed room for it. Like I say, it was something to see. But again, it's lining up all that time. So well, let's look at the exhibition floor while it was empty. This was something else that the whole press thing allowed me to do. Get into the building like an hour early and have a look round, which you don't usually get as press. Press, you kind of get folded in with everybody else. But we were allowed in. So that's what I did. I took advantage of it. Toy Story, celebrating 30 years of Pixar. Well, Pixar's going to be more years than that. But the first Pixar film, Toy Story, of course. So you had the nice little activation there, and you had some variety of exhibitors on the floor. Admittedly, comics were not well represented, certainly not on the floor. One comics retailer saved the day by all accounts. You had a couple of booksellers like Panini and Penguin Random House, but they were few and far between. It was all about retailers and activations like this, something to take a picture with. Fair enough. Oh, robots can cry. There you go. Animatronic services for the media and entertainment service. Okay. We could talk about the invitation of the likes of film studios, publishers, retailers. The question is, where the bloody hell do you put them? In a room that is 15 aisles wide to 15 aisles deep with a artist alley down the other end of it. It just was so small. And oh, hello. I got on a Tron bike. Very nice. Yeah. Showing me weight. Don't like it. There was no organization to the floor. It seemed incredibly random in that the only organized space was Artist Alley down the back of the room. Everywhere else was just haphazard. You fell across panels. You fell across exhibitors. You fell across different a sword retailer next to a Labubu stand. Plenty of Funko. Europe was in the building. A couple of exclusives. Didn't take many pictures of those because, quite frankly, Funko are landfill at this point. But there was a rather random selection of presentation that took up so much space, and I couldn't understand why, considering that the photo op for it is literally that hallway there. I have no idea what was happening behind the scenes of that, but it took up so much space. They clearly had the money to pay for it. What is it, 20th Century Fox? They have the cash. Comic Stores Hispania, but it's all graphic novels. CGC in the area. Okay. I'm kind of rambling here. So I wanted to get more into the issues that were involved, considering that for a first con, you'd expect, with San Diego Comic-Con's name to it, to have more experience being displayed. But this felt like a first-year con being run by people who didn't know what they were doing, but had suddenly won the lottery. That they just thought, if we just throw gobs of money at this, then fans will come out of the woodwork. And they did, and they overwhelmed it. And it just, with the press badge, I was able to have an incredible amount of access to the building. If I didn't have that press pass, it would have been hellish. Absolutely hellish. I mean, you had your Comic-Con live experience, Mr. Antonio Banderas on stage to welcome his good friend, Arnold Schwarzenegger, which was a major talking point, certainly of the Sunday. Something that was outside as well, and you could possibly just see the line right there in the middle, in the background, trying to get into Hall M, which is around the back of the building, very much out of the way. The Village. Now, the Village is a space outside for eating. You had a whole bunch of food trucks, a food concession stand, so people could go and grab something to eat under these permanent installed eating areas, which I'm guessing are part of the actual fixtures and fittings of the centre. But you also had down the other end shipping containers painted black and allowing you to meet the likes of Jeff Loeb. In about 20 minutes after this, you had Jim Lee show up. Ticketed on the Sunday, because they learnt their lesson. They decided that what they were going to do was actually do a first come, first served for Jeff Loeb. And they were thinking of doing first come, first served for Jim Lee as well in Artist Alley. They had 500 people in a line snaking around the back of the room and absolutely taking up even more space inside the floor. The lack of forethought for something where the experience of San Diego Comic-Con, surely you'd think that someone would have thought it through. You really would. I'm going to start wrapping this up because I think I'm repeating myself here. So I'm going to just say this. There is a petition that has gone live, and I want to read it out to you. Let's see if I can find it, because basically people have been incredibly frustrated with what seems to be a bunch of amateurs that has somehow lucked into getting the title of San Diego Comic-Con, this umbrella that they've been lucky enough to get themselves under. However, people have been absolutely blown away by the seeming lack of preparation and organization. So, for example, this is a petition regarding abuses by the organizers of San Diego Comic-Con Malaga. We were all excited for the arrival of Comic-Con to Malaga, but the numerous organizational errors at the event, limited capacity, schedules changed without prior notice, endless lines, no external food or water allowed, and exorbitant prices has turned the event into a living hell, playing with attendees' hopes and putting everyone's safety at risk. It's why it's necessary to legally request a refund of the tickets due to fraud and to bring all of those affected together. No one can expect the management of the Malaga Trade Fair and Congress Center to act responsibly. In addition to the refund of the ticket price, the parent company, San Diego Comic-Con International, is requesting the revocation of the license of Cosmic Legends Productions SL, the event manager in Malaga, whose tickets were sold through Viva Ticket Iberica. The event was held at the Malaga Trade Fair and Congress Center, FYMCA, an entity co-responsible and complicit in the poor organization of San Diego Comic-Con Malaga. Let's not allow this to happen again. I'll say this. I had a great time. It was exhausting, it was manic, but I had a great time. Purely because I had one of these. If I was an attendee, I would be justifiably pissed off. The event has a 3-year contract, so this year and 2 more years. If it is going to be held in the same location, there has to be several things, but first and foremost, number one, an actual manageable limit of the people attending. Now, there's going to be people are wanting to attend this event, and there's going to be the demand. But at the end of the day, if you can't fit them in the building, don't invite them. Don't sell them a ticket. If you can't handle this amount of people, which this building couldn't. Simple as. It was unfit for purpose in its current state. The space management was appalling in that all the lining up should have been done outside, and the space inside should have been used for Comic-Con stuff. So outside in the outer concourse, put off-sites. What's the things that make Comic-Con? Hall H, off-sites, off-site activations. You have the space there in the concourse. Use that. It had to be, you have to have better space management, or you have to reduce the amount of people going through the door, because in its current state, I had Brits and I've had international attendees, people who go to San Diego Comic-Con, people who know what to kind of expect from a manic event, whether I would recommend going to this event in Malaga. And in its current form, I would not recommend it, because it is just simply unwieldy, unprofessional, and unmanaged. I am stunned that there weren't more flare-ups of frustration against volunteers, against staff members. I'm stunned, and I'm thinking that's because at the end of the day, this is literally the first one they've ever had of this in Spain, so they've no idea what to compare it to. All they saw was a event which they were being treated very poorly. I can't blame Comic-Con International, but at the end of the day, it's their name on the bill, so they have to hold some kind of accountability. The Spanish arm of the organization, they have managed to luck themselves into a lottery ticket and get this extreme amount of cash to organize the event and then do whatever they need to do. It speaks volumes that the San Diego event is a non-profit. This absolutely smelled of nothing that resembles a non-profit. This was all for the cash. So what does that leave the fans? Frustrated again with something that they were promised, and this building, this organization could not deliver. I sent a message yesterday to just to qualify myself, because just in case this goes back to CCI, I sent a message to David Glanzer that he should be proud with the event that has been created, because it did. It looked amazing. The floor looked amazing. It was clean. It was professional. It was a little haphazard, and there weren't enough comics for my liking, but it looked great. The branding was fantastic. There was a carpet. There was these huge kind of structures which defined the booths. and made life so much easier for exhibitors and whatever. It looked amazing. The branding looked amazing. The motion graphics looked incredible. That fanfare that's been created, which I'm going to have to try and post the video about on my channel. Watch out for that, and I'll do that in the next half hour or so. There's a march that was composed, which is going to be in my head for a while. The production value of this show was incredible for VIPs, for press, and for anyone who had their golden ticket. This was an amazing show. For everybody else, this would have been an unrecognizable hell. I sent that message to David. He should be proud of what the show is and what it's created. And it was a great looking, and it was a great constructed show, right up to the point where attendees got through the door, because then it turned into something unwieldy. In its current state, I can't recommend Comic-Con Malaga. Things have got to change, and that's, again, going back to it's year one. People will learn. The organization will learn. They've got 2 years to get it right. But you'd have thought that with CCI's experience in your back pocket, it should have either scaled itself back and built into itself, or they should have learnt from all of that wealth of experience that San Diego Comic-Con could bring. So frustrating. Found out some interesting things, though. Number one, Jim Lee, who was announced 3 months ago as one of their first big guests. The reason why he was available and was in the building for Comic-Con Malaga, the man was on holiday. He was taking a cruise holiday with his family, and it stopped in Spain for one of the days on the Sunday. It's the reason why he only attended the one day on the Sunday. So he thought to himself, well, tell you what, if I just jump off the ship, and then in the morning it comes round and comes into Malaga, I'll just have the day in the convention. The port was 4 hours drive away. So yeah, he went and did a panel. He did did a couple of signings, and he made a appearance at Comic-Con Malaga on the Sunday. If I was his wife, I'd have been spitting bullets. We're on holiday, dude. Can you just take a week off? But clearly, CCI calling in a couple of favors. The whole idea of exhibitors. Let's have Marvel. Let's have Fox. Let's have some publishers. My friend Joel Meadows asked, any publishers there? Where would they go? Where would you put them? There's no space. It's absolutely at capacity in its current form. There's nowhere for anyone to go. It's a lumbering behemoth before it's even started. And that's the frustrating thing about it. If it's going to run again, and it's going to run in this venue, stay away. That's me. Thank you very much indeed for watching. I'm going to post a whole gallery of pictures upon my website on the Convention Collective. I'm going to try and get as many video up as I can as well, splice them all together, put a little bit of a thing together, so you can at least see some of the motion of the floor. Have a look at some of my reels, which I posted on the YouTube channel throughout the course of the weekend. So you'll certainly see some of the live elements of what took place over the course of the weekend. Yeah. I don't know what else to say about this frustrating convention. Take care. Look after yourself. Hopefully I'm going to be bringing the website, the live stream and the podcast back within the next couple of months. I'm lining up guests now, and we're going to be turning it more into a creators interview space. So hopefully you'll join us for that. But in the meantime, thank you very much indeed for your company. Thanks for joining me on a very rushed and last minute organized, if anything, yeah, I could say that. My trip to Malaga was organized last minute. As such, it ended up being rushed and very expensive. That's San Diego Comic-Con Malaga. Take care. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.